The Pelican Bay Riot, when the SHU exploded in violence. February 23, 2000. 9:30 in the morning. 200 inmates flood the exercise yard at Pelican Bay State Prison. Within seconds, the 3-acre B-yard transforms into a battlefield. Black inmates and Latino inmates charge at each other. No single spark. No warning. Just two massive groups running full speed toward collision. Guards in the towers above watch helplessly as the yard erupts. This is the worst riot in Pelican Bay's 11-year history. And before it ends, one man will be dead and dozens will bleed on the concrete. The fighting spreads like wildfire across the yard. Fists fly. Bodies slam into chain-link fences. Then the weapons appear. 89 of them. Shanks made from sharpened toothbrushes. Knives fashioned from pieces of metal. Stabbing tools carved from anything inmates could find. The guards had searched every single prisoner before releasing them to the yard that morning. Every single one. Yet somehow 89 weapons made it outside. The violence intensifies. Inmates stab each other. Blood pools on the wet concrete. It's raining. The sky is dark and overcast. And 200 of California's most dangerous men are trying to kill each other. 20 guards stand in the yard when the riot begins. They're outnumbered 10 to 1. They order the inmates to stop. The fighting continues. They deploy tear gas. The inmates keep attacking each other. 30 minutes pass. The stabbing doesn't stop. Then the guards in the towers make a decision. They raise their rifles. And they open fire on the men below.
If you enjoy real, gripping prison documentaries and true stories, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with your friends and family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss more shocking and exclusive content.
Pelican Bay State Prison sits 10 miles south of the Oregon border, 290 miles north of San Francisco. The prison is an imposing gray hulk rising from 270 acres of flat land. No trees. Just concrete, razor wire, and gun towers. 8 cell blocks radiate from the central exercise yard like spokes on a wheel. When Pelican Bay opened in 1989, it was designed to house 2,280 inmates. By February 2000, more than 3,400 prisoners are crammed inside its walls. Overcrowding by more than 1,000 men. These aren't ordinary prisoners. Pelican Bay holds California's most dangerous and incorrigible felons. Men who committed violence at other prisons. Men who attempted escapes. Men who couldn't be controlled anywhere else. The prison has 2 sections. General population. And the security housing unit. The SHU. Inmates call it the SHU. 1,200 men live in the SHU under permanent lockdown conditions. 23 hours a day in their cells. 1 hour for exercise. Alone. The SHU was built to break the most violent men in the California prison system. Some prisoners spend years in these conditions. Some spend decades. In 1995, a federal judge examined conditions at Pelican Bay. Judge Thelton Henderson ruled that the prison inflicted cruel and unusual punishment. His exact words: the prison subjects prisoners to senseless suffering and sometimes wretched misery. The judge found that mentally ill prisoners were being kept in solitary isolation, which made their conditions worse. He ordered 100 severely mentally ill prisoners removed from the SHU. But the prison remained open. The SHU remained operational. And the violence continued. By the late 1990s, Pelican Bay had gained a reputation. Not just among inmates, among guards too. In March 1998, the FBI began a civil rights investigation. They were looking into possible roles guards played in beatings and killings. The Department of Justice opened its own probe. They investigated allegations that guards wrongfully singled out prisoners for retribution. That guards arranged for rival inmates to attack each other. In February 2000, just days before the riot, 2 former Pelican Bay guards were indicted by a federal grand jury. Edward Michael Powers and Jose Ramon Garcia. The charges: conspiring to violate inmates' civil rights by arranging for them to be attacked by other inmates. One of those attacks was fatal. Another guard, David Lewis, had been convicted 2 weeks earlier for shooting a prisoner after a fight in 1994. The prison was a powder keg. Overcrowded. Under federal investigation. With a history of guard misconduct and inmate violence. In August 1999, 6 months before the February riot, fighting erupted between black and white inmates in the same exercise yard. The prison went on modified lockdown. For months, inmates were denied yard access. The tension built. Men sat in their cells waiting. Finally, 1 week before February 23, prison officials reopened the exercise yard. They released inmates to the yard a few at a time. Each time, fighting broke out. Small skirmishes. Guards broke them up quickly. But the pattern was clear. Something was brewing. Then came February 22nd, the day before the riot. According to interviews conducted by California Prison Focus with 50 prisoners, strange things happened that day. One prisoner reported that a guard told him, "Do whatever you're going to do today because tomorrow the prison is going on lockdown." Another prisoner was told by a different guard, "It's your lucky day." Were guards warning inmates? Were they encouraging violence? Or were these just random comments blown out of proportion by suspicious minds? No one knows for certain. But the next morning, February 23rd, 200 men would be released to the B yard at the same time. And 89 weapons would somehow make it past the searches. February 23, 2000. Morning arrives cold and gray. Rain clouds hang heavy over Del Norte County. The forecast calls for rain all day. Inside Pelican Bay the routine begins. Breakfast. Head count. Then the announcement, B yard is open for general population exercise. This is unusual. Since August, yard access has been limited. Small groups only. But today, 200 inmates from B facility will be released at once. The largest yard gathering in months. The search process begins at 9 o'clock. Every inmate must be frisked before going outside. Guards pat down each man. They check pockets. They run hands along pant legs and shirt sleeves. They're looking for contraband. For weapons. For anything that could be used to cause harm. One by one, 200 men pass through the search. One by one they're cleared. Not a single weapon is found during the searches. Not one. The inmates file out to the yard. The B yard is 3 acres of concrete surrounded by chain link fencing and concrete walls. Guard towers stand at corners, giving officers clear sight lines across the entire space. 20 guards position themselves on the yard floor. They're there to maintain order. To respond if something happens. To keep watch over the inmates. In the towers above, more guards stand ready with rifles. Standard procedure for yard time at a maximum security facility. By 9:30, all 200 inmates are outside. Black inmates cluster in one area. Latino inmates gather in another. This self-segregation is normal in California prisons. It's been happening for decades. Race-based prison gangs control different sections of the yard. The Black Guerrilla Family. The Mexican Mafia. The Aryan Brotherhood. The Norteños. These organizations dictate who stands where. Who talks to whom. Who lives and who dies. Crossing invisible lines can be fatal. The rain starts to fall. Light at first. Then heavier. The concrete darkens with moisture. Inmates walk the yard. Some exercise. Some talk in groups. The guards watch. Everything appears normal. Routine. Just another yard session at Pelican Bay. But under the surface something is wrong. In the pockets of those orange jumpsuits are 89 weapons. Shanks sharpened to razor points. Knives filed from metal scraps. Stabbing instruments made from toothbrushes. All of them made it past the searches. All 89. At exactly 9:30 it begins. Not with a single fight. Not with 2 inmates squaring off. Instead, large groups of inmates suddenly sprint toward each other. Black inmates rush from one side. Latino inmates charge from the other. They meet in the middle of the yard with tremendous force. Fists start swinging. Bodies crash together. And then the weapons come out. Inmates begin stabbing each other. The guards on the ground yell orders. Stop. Get down. Stop fighting. No one listens. No one stops. The riot spreads across the entire 3-acre yard. The 20 guards on the ground are immediately overwhelmed. They're trained for confrontation. They're prepared for violence. But not this. Not 200 men fighting all at once. The guards try to separate fighters. They grab inmates and pull them apart. But for every man they separate, 10 more are fighting. The guards call for backup. They radio to the towers. Code 3. Mass disturbance. All available officers respond. Within minutes, over 100 additional guards arrive at the prison. But they can't get to the yard. Not safely. Not with 200 inmates engaged in combat. Above the chaos, guards in the towers assess the situation. They see inmates stabbing each other. They see blood on the concrete. They see weapons everywhere. Standard protocol in California prisons gives guards authority to use lethal force under specific circumstances. To prevent escape. To defend staff from death or great bodily injury. To stop a riot. This is a riot. And inmates are dying on the yard below. The guards in the towers watch 30 minutes of continuous violence unfold below them. 30 minutes of stabbing. 30 minutes of inmates attacking each other with makeshift weapons. The rain falls harder. The concrete is slick with water and blood. Inmates slip and fall and get back up to keep fighting. The guards on the ground have pulled back to the perimeter. They can't stop this. No amount of physical intervention will end a riot of this size. The tower guards issue verbal commands through loudspeakers. Stop fighting. Get down on the ground. This is your final warning. Their voices echo across the yard. Most inmates ignore them. Some can't even hear over the noise of 200 men fighting. The violence continues. Guards deploy tear gas. 3 foam rounds arc through the air and explode on the concrete. Chemical clouds spread across the yard. Inmates cough and their eyes water. But they don't stop fighting. The tear gas is supposed to disperse crowds. Is supposed to make people retreat. Instead, inmates keep stabbing each other through the chemical fog. Prison policy is clear. When all other methods fail to stop a riot, lethal force is authorized. The guards in the towers have exhausted their options. Verbal commands failed. Tear gas failed. Below them, inmates are inflicting lethal injuries on each other. Multiple prisoners have been stabbed repeatedly. Some are trying to crawl away from the fighting. Others are lying motionless on the ground. The decision is made. The guards raise their rifles. The first shots ring out at 10 o'clock. Semi-automatic rifle fire cracks through the air. Bullets strike the concrete. Strike the fencing. Strike inmates. The guards are aiming for lower body shots to minimize fatal injuries. They're trying to stop the riot, not execute prisoners. But in the chaos, accuracy is difficult. 19 bullets are fired from the towers. 5 inmates suffer gunshot wounds immediately. More are hit as the shooting continues. The effect is instant. Inmates scatter. Some drop their weapons and hit the ground. Others run for cover. The riot that couldn't be stopped by commands or tear gas ends in seconds under gunfire. Inmates lie flat on the wet concrete with hands visible. The fighting stops. The yard goes quiet except for the moans of injured men and the steady sound of rain. Emergency response teams move in. Guards secure the yard. They order all inmates to remain on the ground. Medical personnel arrive to treat the wounded. The scene they find is devastating. One inmate, Miguel Sanchez, has been shot in the upper body. The wound is fatal. He's transported to a local hospital but doesn't survive. 15 other inmates have gunshot wounds. Some serious. Some less critical. 19 more inmates have stab wounds and injuries from the inmate-on-inmate fighting. 28 men total require hospitalization. The concrete yard is littered with weapons. Guards begin collecting them. They find 89 improvised weapons. 89 instruments of violence that made it past the morning searches. The investigation begins immediately. How did so many weapons get on the yard? How did guards searching 200 inmates miss every single one? Was the riot planned? Prison officials say yes. The sheer number of weapons suggests coordination. The simultaneous attack from multiple groups suggests planning. This wasn't a spontaneous fight that escalated. This was organized violence. But who organized it? And why? California Prison Focus interviews 50 inmates in the weeks after the riot. Many prisoners claim guards knew something was going to happen. They point to the comments made the day before. The warnings about lockdown. The statement about it being someone's lucky day. Some inmates believe guards wanted the riot to happen. That they deliberately released 200 inmates to the yard knowing violence would erupt. Why would guards do this? Some theories suggest it was retaliation. That guards wanted to punish inmates after the August 1999 riot. Other theories claim guards were testing new riot control procedures. Or that they wanted to justify continued lockdown conditions. No evidence proves any of these theories. But the timing is suspicious. 2 guards indicted for arranging inmate attacks just hours before the worst riot in prison history. Steve Fama, an attorney with the prison law office in San Rafael, suggests overcrowding played a major role. With more than 3,400 inmates in a facility designed for 2,200, tensions were inevitable. Competition for resources. Limited space. Restricted movement. These conditions create pressure. And pressure eventually explodes. The federal investigations into guard misconduct continue even after the riot. In September 2000, 7 months after the February violence, a federal grand jury indicts a third Pelican Bay guard. Richard Caruso faces charges of conspiring to violate inmate civil rights. The pattern is clear. Multiple guards at Pelican Bay have been accused of arranging for inmates to be attacked. Of setting up fights. of creating conditions for violence. Did this happen on February 23rd? No evidence proves it. But the timing raises questions that never get answered. The inmates who survived the riot face consequences. Prison officials identify participants in the fighting. Some inmates receive additional charges. Some get transferred to other facilities. Many spend years in administrative segregation as punishment. Their already restricted lives become even more controlled. 23 hours a day becomes 24. 1 hour of yard time becomes none. The violence on February 23rd bought them nothing but more suffering. For the family of Miguel Sanchez, the inmate killed by guard gunfire, the pain is permanent. Their loved one went to prison for a crime. He was serving his sentence. He was supposed to come home someday. Instead, he died on a concrete yard in the rain. The district attorney called it justifiable homicide. The investigation cleared the guards. But Miguel Sanchez is still dead. And his family still mourns. Pelican Bay itself continues operating. The SHU remains open. New inmates replace those who were transferred. The cycle continues. In the years after the riot, conditions at Pelican Bay face ongoing scrutiny. In 2011, inmates in the SHU launch a hunger strike to protest long-term solitary confinement. The strike spreads to other California prisons. Thousands of inmates participate. They demand changes to policies that keep men isolated for years or decades. Some inmates in the SHU have been there since the prison opened in 1989. Over 20 years in solitary confinement. The protests lead to reforms. In 2015, California agrees to limit the use of indefinite solitary confinement. The state promises to review cases of inmates who have spent more than 10 years in isolation. Pelican Bay begins slowly releasing some long-term SHU prisoners back to general population. The changes come 15 years too late for the men who rioted in February 2000. But they represent acknowledgement that something was wrong with the system. Today, Pelican Bay State Prison still stands 10 miles south of the Oregon border. The 8-cell blocks still radiate from the central yard. The SHU still houses California's most difficult inmates. But the population has decreased. Overcrowding has been reduced. Reforms have been implemented. The prison that Judge Henderson described as inflicting wretched misery has changed. Whether enough has changed remains a matter of debate. The February 23rd riot left scars that never fully healed. 1 man dead. Dozens injured. Questions about guard conduct unanswered. Theories about deliberate provocation unproven. What is certain is this. On that rainy morning in the year 2000, Pelican Bay's security housing unit erupted in the worst violence in its history. 200 men fought with 89 weapons that guards somehow never found. Guards fired 19 shots to stop the killing. And when the rain finally washed the blood from the concrete, everyone involved had to live with what happened in the SHU. The riot stands as a reminder of what can happen when dangerous men are packed into tight spaces with limited oversight. When tensions build without release. When systems designed to control violence sometimes create the conditions for it instead. Pelican Bay was built to be California's toughest prison. A place where the most violent inmates would be completely controlled. But on February 23, 2000, control was lost. And the SHU exploded.
If you enjoy real, gripping prison documentaries and true stories, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with your friends and family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss more shocking and exclusive content.